Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's Six to Celebrate panel, Woven Heritage, Legacy Businesses in the Garment District. For anyone who is unaware, Six to Celebrate is a grant program that the Historic Districts Council runs, is a grant program of the Historic Districts Council and New York City's only targeted citywide list of preservation priorities. The purpose of the program is to provide strategic resources to neighborhood groups at a critical moment to reach their preservation goals. As part of the Six to Celebrate, HDC is supporting the New York Fashion Workforce Development Coalition in their efforts to promote the Garment District's cultural, historical, and architectural significance and advocate for the continued presence of fashion manufacturing within the district as part of larger plans for the area. Recently, we attended a public information session on the proposed Midtown South mixed-use plan, which would allow housing to be developed across the Garment District. While HGC supports the need for housing, we are concerned about the lack of incentives for commercial and manufacturing uses, which are key to the character of the Garment District. We plan to advocate for changes to the MSMX to level the playing field, encourage the retention of fashion and manufacturing jobs, and celebrate the irreplaceable character of the area. We encourage you to learn more about the plan at midtownsouthplan.nyc and get involved. We have another Garment District panel from Lofts Living Quarters, Garment District Architecture and Workers Housing coming up next week on November 14th. That will be in person at Baruch College. You can find more information and register on our website, hdc.org. If you have any questions about programming, you can contact me at marbulu@hdc.org. Tonight's class will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel for free viewing. You may also watch all of our previous Preservation School classes, virtual tours, and panels on our YouTube channel. Now, I would like to introduce tonight's panelists. Alex Dabagh is the owner of ANYBAG, Made by Alex, a company that focuses on leather goods and upcycled bags made from recycled plastic bags. Pauline Lock is the product development and bulk production manager for InStyle USA, a 30-plus year full-service design and manufacturing company for both product development and bulk production. Katie Sue Nicklos is the CEO of Wing and Weft Gloves, a glove manufacturing company with 50-plus years in supplying gloves for theater, film, fashion, and celebrities. Katie Sue is not able to join us tonight in person, but you will hear from her in a pre-recorded video. And finally, Rob Price, a fashion accessories design consultant, will moderate the panel. I would like to thank the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, City Council, and the New York State Council on the Arts for supporting Six to Celebrate. If you have any questions, you can add them into the chat and Rob will address them at the end. Now, I'll hand it over to Alex. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to walk around my factory in a few minutes, but I'll give you a little bit of background before it might get choppy on the as I move around. But I'm one of the oldest, last operating leather good manufacturers in New York City, 42 years, which was started by my father in 1982. We started off as just predominantly leather goods. And then about 2009, we expanded the factory and started producing trims, components, woven leather, braiding, and started working with just about every industry you can imagine, anywhere from the fashion industry to hospitality, interior design, home decor, whatever it was to keep the factory moving and operating and keeping my employees employed. That's all that mattered. They came first. We have about 30 employees currently. We've been on 29th and 6th Avenue since 1982. And we produce it all right here in this one location. We have our in-house labels, as Michelle mentioned. We have Made by Alex, which is the stuff behind me, all the leather stuff, and that's all made from upcycled leather that I collect after we do production runs and then weave it into one-of-a-kind textiles, and then we'll get 1 piece, 10 pieces, but all limited runs. And then a few years ago, I launched a company called ANYBAG, which is short for a New York bag, where we take New York City's finest waste and transform it into tote bags, like so. But we take all the poly bags from all the retail stores with the companies that we partner up with. For example, Nike, Adidas, Arc'teryx, Madewell, Rivian. But we take all their poly bags that they get in from shipments overseas. And most of the time that plastic is virgin. Two sets of hands have touched it, whoever packed it, and then whoever's taking it out of the package. And usually that plastic just goes to landfill. So we are intercepting it and diverting it and giving it new life. But that was my passion project that I thought was a passion project 4 years ago. And now it's turned into a full-on company. I'm going to switch to my phone and I'm going to walk you through the factory now and show you what we make and how we make it. Hold on. Make sure I can do this. Yeah. There we go. Is it echoing?
It's better now that you walked away.
Unmute. There we go. Is it echoing?
No, you're good.
All right, cool. Yeah. So in the factory, let me switch the view. Here we go. So we are in one side of the factory. This is the trimming side. And this is where we do all our woven textiles. These are our 3 looms. This is a loom that we're currently weaving a textile for upholstery, leather with cotton cord. This is our loom that we use specifically for plastic for ANYBAG. So you can see the poly bags that we have here all stripped up, and this is the textile that we create from it. Using, again, one of the oldest pieces of machinery. Ancient Egyptians used to use this, and now we're using it to transform trash. This is another loom here. This is all leather on leather, and again, this will be for a, I believe, upholstery project.
Alex, if you can hear me, you've cut out.
Hold my hand. And then our drying oven. But on this side of the factory, I'd say predominantly what comes out of this side is all trims and lacing. A customer will drop leather off in the morning and come back at the end of the day and pick it up on a spool, and we'll turn it into whatever size or whatever width size lacing they need, whether it's raw edge, folded edge, or braided. We'll make it happen here. But this is a full-fledged factory that operates about from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. every day, 5 days a week. Used to be 6 hours a day, but 6 days a week, but times have changed. This is an area where we do all our gluing, and we're making placemats right now for a restaurant called Manuela in Soho. Placemats and coasters. All our machinery, some of it is ancient, doesn't even have a name. Things that we've rigged to work for what we need. But the problem we're running into is the people that actually make these gauges are slowly starting to disappear. There's nobody left in New York City that could do that. There's a little old man in Maine that we work with, but I'm sure he's going to be retiring soon. This is our stamping station where we do all our embossing. So you would send us artwork. We would make a brass stamp and then stamp it into the leather like so. This is a coaster for a liquor company, for a bourbon company, I believe. But we have 3 machines, oldest to newest. This is probably about 4 or 5 years old. But yeah, you can see all the brass stamps that we have in here, and all the different companies and brands that we work with are assorted in there. All our leather, I'd say about 95% of it comes from Italy. Here's some more woven leather that just came off the loom that's going to get backed. All our cutting dies, which are basically giant cookie cutters. And now we're in the actual leather handbag factory side, where we do all the finishing. But everything happens and starts right at this cutting area. These are the clickers where we place all our cutting dies and then swing our arms around and cut. Pablo, you want to cut a piece? And this is Pablo, who's been with us for about 20 years, and he'll demonstrate how you cut leather real quick. There you go. That's the bottom panel of a bag. But every bag gets its own set. No two dyes will ever be the same. So once you go into production, you want to make sure you're happy and set with all that. But this is where we actually do all our handbag production. You'll see bags for Gurkha in this area, bags for a company called Karoon. Here, this is for Parker Thatch, a company based out of LA. What else is going through today? There's more placemats and coasters and leather trays. But yeah, we do a little bit of everything out of this 6,000 square foot factory in the heart of Manhattan. I'm going to switch back to the computer. All right, I'm back. But yeah, we do a little bit of everything in this little space. And like I said, it all comes down to my employees. Without them, I'm nothing. And if I can't bring work to the table or orders to the table, this will not exist anymore. So it's extremely important to keep this craft alive, especially when this whole city was all manufacturers at one point. This building that I'm in was all manufacturers up until about 2001, when everybody packed up and went overseas and or went to jail for bootlegging, because that was when Coach was really popular. And you would see Coach bags all over Canal Street. But we were one of the only brands or companies that had our own in-house labels, and we actually did a lot of contract work for all the big brands out there. And currently it's about 80% contract work, 20% in-house. And we slowly want to transform that and go back to 80% in-house label, because that's where the margins are. That's where we have full control and have peace of mind when I know I'm making my own stuff and not somebody else's stuff. But that's who we are in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Pauline.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me on this panel. I'm very excited to share with you, and I agree with Alex. We are last of the Mohegans, and we really need to band together to keep our industry alive and still play a very vital role in the New York landscape, as far as fashion is concerned, and other areas, obviously. InStyle USA have been servicing the garment district for over 35 years. We are very unique, almost a unicorn, because we've bought a lot of different services under one roof. So obviously, we do pattern making, product development, and then straight through to production. Because generally you have to go to individual vendors to kind of get each aspect of your design interpreted and then cut and then sewn. And then the same process repeats itself during bulk production. So we've taken all these entities and kind of put them on one roof. So it made the process a lot more seamless for a lot of our clients. We have not been able to fully recover after the pandemic, but all of us, like Alex himself, is thinking of unique ways of pivoting our businesses so we can still better serve the community and attract new customers into our industry and want to stay making products locally within our own communities. I do have a side note, Rob, Michelle. Some of the things that we do are proprietary. So I'm a little hesitant about the tour now. Any suggestions?
Okay, are there things you can show us? Or would you prefer that I stop the recording, or do you not want it on screen at all?
I'm just a little concerned because there's things that we do for the US Navy and Army and that are definitely protected. So they are on site now.
Okay. That That's fine. If you can't walk us around, maybe just explain.
Maybe a general area, if that's okay. I'm sorry. I just, you don't think about these things. You want to welcome everyone in, but then I forget things are being recorded and I could be in some serious trouble.
No, absolutely, we don't want that.
I don't want U.S. Marshals showing up at my door.
That was not the intention of this panel.
Um, so a little bit more interesting things that we do. We work with everyone from Disney all the way through to the US forces in the United States, which we're very proud of. And also, why we're such Mohegans, last of the Mohegans, is because we work with the likes of Calvin when Calvin was still at the helm. So, we have great stories that we probably have to take to the grave with us, but it is such an interesting creative industry that just keeps piquing your interest. And, we love the people that we work with. Again, I share the same values about maintaining a great staff, hoping that they can continue, providing for their family, as long as we can bring in the work. So, we need to do this collectively, everyone. It's not just about Alex, myself, and Rob. We need a community to stand behind us and want to keep production alive and healthy in New York and for the States for that matter. Let me see if I can try to do just a quick tour, maybe of just the development area so you can kind of see what we do. I'm going to also switch over to my phone, so bear with me. I'm not that technology savvy.
Right now the SWAT teams are like about to like swing through the window.
Oh dear. I'm sorry, in hindsight, I didn't think of it until now, and that's really on me. I'm sorry. Um, okay, I don't know if I can make this work. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna keep you guys on my laptop. Okay, if anyone starts to get dizzy, please let me know. So these are our general showrooms, and we are now going to the heart of the operation. So first off, I don't know if everyone can see, these are our general offices. Yeah, okay, we're gonna start working backwards now. I'm trying to get to the development area. Okay, so here is kind of where designs come to life. So basically for us, depending on the style that we're working on, some things may or may not need to be draped. And here is actually where our pattern makers do their magic and things actually start to come to life. Is the view okay?
A little bit further down.
A little bit, okay. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Sorry. And right. Now we are actually going into the heart of the operation, which is actually our manufacturing plant. As you can see here, we still have people working and making things happen. Okay. So this is the part that's going to get a little tricky. So I apologize if some of the view is not as clear as it can be, but because we're going to start to get into an area where I have to keep things under lock and key. So things I can show you is part of the production is basically, this is a small cutting table that we have in-house. So from there, obviously a larger scale, we get bundles. And all these lovely bundles eventually become finished garments. Okay, so now, sorry, I'm gonna head back because yes, the other items I am not going to be allowed to show. So sorry, bear with me. I hope I didn't make anyone dizzy. And I can save the rest for the Q&A.
Okay, I will
Okay.
show Katie's video. And
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
give me a moment.
Hi, my name is Katie Sue Nicklos, and I'm the owner of Wing and Weft Gloves. We're the last glove factory in New York City's garment district, in New York City in general, in the state of New York, and the last glove factory with a direct tie to Gloversville, New York, in the whole nation. Gloversville, New York was a place that still exists, though there's no glove factories there anymore. Where at the turn of the century, most of the gloves for the United States were made. So I'll show you some of our factory tools in the back that's been passed down from generation to generation to me to use here because they're the best tools to make gloves. So this is our showroom in our space in the garment district. We're on 37th Street and 8th Avenue. We have a beautiful place to showcase all of our gloves. Yeah, and people can come in and shop. And also we do fittings, and this is our really lovely fitting room. It's really nice mirror, and a view of course, down 8th Avenue. So we're really lucky. This building is beautiful. It's a building that was built in 1947, and it was made for factories like us with big machines that need large floor plans and open floor plans to accommodate all of our machinery. And one of the things that I have is a 3-ton clicker that does 5 tons of pressure. So it really can only live in buildings like this. And I'll show that to you. It's back in our workspace. So there it is. And when it's turned on, it makes a good deal of noise. Also, reason why these factory buildings are so important for us to be here. I can't take this machine anywhere else in the city. It won't be approved to be functioning unless we're on these floors that can bear its load. So I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to thank you guys for having us and hosting us and taking a look into what makes the garment district so great. It's so important for us to be here in the garment district, not only for our neighbors to all stay together in our ecosystem, but also for people to reach us and for our services to be best used. So we serve the Broadway community, film, fashion, TV, entertainment across the board. You'll see some VIPs here. We do a lot of gloves for performances. Here's Beyonce and her Renaissance tour. You'll recognize some presidential first lady moments that we've gloved. Also some Met Gala here. This is me at my cutting table, but I learned everything I know from Jay, who's the master glove maker, who he and his wife own this company. They have owned it since 1973, and I feel really honored to have been in this position where I can carry on this legacy. Obviously, we have a lot of notable people that we have gloved, but really our main goal is to preserve the craft of American glove making, especially when it comes to leather gloves, which is really a unique handcraft. And New York should be a fashion capital of the world, and we are really strongly proud that we're here. So I think I hit all the points, but I welcome you to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you want to come by for a personal tour. I'll keep it short because I know everybody else is on the call, and I'm sorry I can't be there in person. And I want to say thank you, and we glove you. Mwah. Okay, I was just watching and I forgot to take you back into where we make all the gloves. That was our clicker, but here in this part of the factory is all our tools and our machines and the space where we actually build everything. And everything happens in-house. So I'll show you just some notable things. These are glove irons. It's the finishing step of making a glove. The glove gets pressed on this, turned inside out, and it's really a unique and useful tool that helps us making the gloves look as professionally done as they can. It heats from the inside, so it just I say, right, again, it tells the glove that it wants to be a glove. It reminds it that it wants to be a glove. And our machines, we have, I mean, everything that we have has been passed on to us, and our tools. I'll just show you a glove turner. We have a whole bunch of these that help turn the fingers of the glove inside out. All these tools, again, were passed on to me, preserved and saved. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is for these legacy businesses to continue. It would be very difficult to start this business from scratch, if not almost impossible. I don't even know where I would source glove irons or industrial glove machines that had been in the old factories. Most of these really have been thrown away. So it wouldn't be impossible. It just would be very difficult to start something without this wealth of knowledge, not only in the machinery, but also the knowledge that I was able to glean from my predecessors. Okay, so that was just last little bit. Again, appreciate it, and thank you for your time. Bye.
Okay, that was all. I hope some people were able to see some of that. If not, I do very much apologize. And now I will hand it back over to Rob.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm Rob Price. I'm a fashion accessories designer and consultant and work with a lot of different brands, and am a board member of the New York Fashion Workforce Development Coalition, which is a multi-stakeholder working group bringing together individuals from fashion industry, community, academia, nonprofit sectors, and government to find solutions to strengthen and grow New York's fashion future via social justice, women's economic advancement, and empowerment. It's a lovely community, and I thank Alex and Pauline and Katie Sue for being a part of this panel discussion. And I'm really excited to kind of get in here and talk about their work in the garment district. I know that Alex got into it and Pauline got into it. And, just hearing that it not just is fashion, but there's the hospitality aspect of it and the home aspect of some of the stuff that Alex is doing. And then Pauline is doing these garments, but also getting into, some of this stuff for the Navy and then even what you heard on Katie Sue's talking about these gloves and the process, but then also how they, are for fashion use, but also in theater. So the garment district really is this wonderful community and ecosystem of people that make products and have for a very long time. And there's people that are still doing it in a really meaningful and thoughtful way. So I want to get into a panel discussion and just throw out a question to Alex and Pauline and just talk about the community in the neighborhood and what keeps you guys from, moving to a place, out in Brooklyn or New Jersey or wherever. What keeps you kind of still rooted in these neighborhoods? Alex, I'll start with you.
Jump in. So I've heard some horror stories, people closing up shop and going to Brooklyn, and then never bouncing back to what they had when they were in the city. The beauty of being where we are is a central location. Every train comes here, whether it's inner borough or it's from New Jersey or Connecticut or from Pennsylvania. We get customers from all over, but they're able to come in and meet with us and see their product being made, and it's easily accessible. And like if there's a problem with production, you could be here in 30 minutes, fix it, and keep going. You don't have that opportunity or that benefit when you're producing something overseas or in a rural area. It might stop production for a few days, which costs a lot of money to the manufacturer. But like the biggest advantage of being here is just you're able to have full control. Being able to produce domestically, you don't need to order thousands. You don't need to forecast. You don't need to take a chance and say, okay, we're going to order 1,000 pieces in red. And then when your order arrives from overseas, it's like, oh wait, red's not in style anymore. I don't know what to do with this anymore. So we have to price shop it. So it's like we are the originators of fast fashion. I've always said that since day one. But we always did it carefully. It was fast fashion, but it was always a test. You could try 20 units, you could try 100 units, but if something was hot and something was trending, we could have it in your store within 2 weeks. And now that's what all the consumers, that's what all the stores are starting to see. And it's anything is possible when you're local, when you're domestic, and you're able to pop in at any given time. But actually to see your production, see the quality, see everything that's going through without having to spend thousands of dollars for a flight overseas, you know, that's priceless.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And even now with what's happening politically and some of the tariffs and these
Yeah.
discussions that have been happening, and also just the shipping, like what happened during the pandemic with the shipping, I think there's such an opportunity to really kind of lean into this way of manufacturing and just change the consumer's mindset. You've seen it happen in the food industry with things that are organics and, you know, kind of maybe some other industries like coffee or craft beer. And I think with fashion, I think there's a huge opportunity to kind of lean into that. Pauline, what are your thoughts on kind of the
It's not
geography and being where you're at?
it's not only the accessibility of our customers getting to us, but it's also the community of vendors that we also rely on. So it's great that all of us have held our grounds. You know, I'm as strong as my vendors that provide the necessary items for us to complete a job. So that's also really important. And about keeping the community alive, I think during the pandemic was a very, very important lesson that we all learned. When the world shut us out, the fashion industry was one of the first people that answered the call for help, which was we came back in full force to make PPE because we had the knowledge, we had the machinery, and we wanted all to help, right? So that's how vital our industry was and still is, but it takes all of us to keep all of this going because, you know, after the pandemic is over, you know, people forget like, oh, yes, they were around when we needed them the most, but how do you maintain that? Like, you know, it's not just like, let's just hope that they're still around if something else happens. That doesn't work, right? So it takes all of us and it takes a commitment and advocacy on all of our parts, from the consumer wanting to buy goods that are made in the USA, you know, to us wanting to stand our ground and not let people take over our workspace and turn it into what hotels and whatnot. You know, keep this industry alive. You know, the fashion industry contributes so much to the ecosystem of New York itself, right? So it's a very important. So that's why I'm such an advocate for like, you know, not only because this is what I love to do, but I feel like these are the people that like work hard, contribute to the local economy. And if we want to keep building that or keep maintaining that, we have to keep that in mind, like shop local, buy local, make local.
I want to
I,
add something to
I
that.
love that.
You know, like to add on to Pauline, it's New York City was built on mom and pops. It was built by immigrants like us. I guess I'm a first generation American. My parents immigrated here in the late 70s. And you know, the city wasn't all CVS's and banks and big, you know, box stores 20 years ago. This is all new. And when you travel to Europe, you see the difference. You know, like I was in Paris 2 months ago, and every street had a deli, every street had a meat shop, every street had a produce store. But those stores keep that community alive. And that's what, you know, like we're missing now. We need a car to get anywhere if you're not in the city. You know, but you know, without us, what does the city become? It becomes a place for the uber rich, but what happens to the rest of us that made this possible? So, you know, it's extremely important because we give back to the community. We create opportunity for the community. If you don't have an education, you could learn how to do this with some, you know, few hours of training. You might not be great right off the bat, but this is how it starts. The schools don't teach this either. It's another big problem that I have with, FIT and Parsons and Pratt. I tell them every time when they come in here for a tour, I'm like, the teachers are teaching everybody to be creative directors and, the upper management and C-suite level employees, but some people just need to know how to make it before they can get there. And that's the missing link. But without us, there is no industry, and we keep it alive.
I want to touch on something that both of you kind of got into, and it's clearly the fashion industry has changed drastically, and things have gone to China, things have gone to the Philippines, to Vietnam. They kind of moved around depending on kind of what duty rates and things. I've worked for a lot of these bigger fashion brands and seen that firsthand, that it's kind of just this like, oh, where are these loopholes for the cheapest labor, the cheapest, different tariffs and things like that. But I think you guys in particular, and I'm really grateful to be on this call with both of you, is that you've been able to be very nimble and pivot and think of your business, I think, in a very modern way, because that things have changed. The garment district isn't what it once was, and you guys are really kind of pioneers and kind of holding the torches up for what you're doing. But I want to talk a little bit about some of these things that you guys have individually been doing. And Alex, you showed it earlier with the ANYBAG project, and just thinking through a different lens that's more kind of relevant, more sustainable, and then even what you did, Pauline, during the pandemic with the PPE, and just how quickly you were able to see this not necessarily an opportunity, but just leaning into your strengths and doing something for the greater good. And I don't know if I'm getting to a question or not, but just thinking about how you guys have had this legacy and history and deep roots, but how you're sort of transitioning it to the future. Maybe start with you, Pauline.
We always pride ourselves as being very progressive, and obviously, times have absolutely changed. And you need to change with the times as well, too. For us, we have, for the first time, gone on social media. So, that is another, way of like drawing new audiences, drawing more attention to our industry, which is great. You also have to reinvest. Just under a year ago, we experienced a very bad flood and we literally lost our entire factory. And at that point, I stood in the space and in knee-high water, and it was a pivoting point. So do you reinvest or do you call it quits? And obviously, since I'm still sitting here and still standing in this room, we decided that this is still a very viable industry. It's an industry that we love. This is a business that I helped build. I did not want to let down our clients. I did not want to let down the industry that I constantly advocate for. So we came back, and we came back stronger. But now we need to rely on the business coming back, because we had large designers that we work with pre-COVID, and unfortunately, a lot of them have shifted offshore. And I get it. It's about the bottom line. But then what happens if you shift everything offshore, and who's now working that can afford this product? It's an ecosystem. You can't start removing pieces of the pie and think that this is not going to just collapse on itself. So I think it's really, really important. I continue to be very passionate. I find new ways to reach different people. I've gone to Albany. I'm like, look, if anyone wants to listen to me about how important this industry is to just not only New York's landscape, but the United States in general, that we still produce wonderful things out of this country, and that should be something that we all stand behind and continue to promote.
Yeah, and I think you kind of are definitely get into the politics and really kind of advocate for the greater good of the community and the garment district. Um, do you think that is kind of the next chapter is having sort of the political landscape start to create some policy around, these bigger brands that really kind of grew? You talked about Calvin earlier, and so much of their story is based off of doing all this work here, and then they get to the point where they're like, okay, we take it over here for our shareholders. But is there a way to kind of bring them back in and have them, pay it back?
As they should. You know, without the local factories and all these makers, they would not have been able to launch their careers. So it was
Yeah.
built right here in New York. And the fact that like you kind of like now outgrew New York, it's a shame. It's kind of like it's not even just about paying back, it's about maintaining, and this amazing, culture of like, manufacturing, handcrafts, skilled work, that help build a lot of these fashion houses. And who are their customers, right? Obviously there's tons of Americans that are still buying their products. Like I said earlier in our little green room, I said, I walk up to politicians now and I say, where's your suit made? You're supposedly, advocating for my community, this, that, and whatnot. But let me just get down to the basics. Who are you wearing and where's that made?
I love that. Well, and maybe that's, kind of going to back to my very vague question, and maybe Alex, you could kind of jump into this as we sort of, kind of go into this next chapter. And as you guys are being very innovative and thinking about the future of the garment district and this type of working, where do you see these opportunities and kind of a way to kind of move forward and continue to stay and do this work?
Pauline touched on a little bit, but I think COVID was a rude awakening for domestic manufacturing, because everyone realized how dependent we were on everybody else when everybody kind of forgot that it all started here. We develop, we sample, we do all the research and development for all these companies, make these beautiful samples, and then they pick it up and take it overseas. Now I feel like, and we've been talking about this for years now, oh, everything's coming back to America. It's coming back to America. And like, I say it every year. I'm like, oh, wait, it's not here yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I'm optimistic, but I'm slowly starting to see that happen now. And COVID, I think, was the biggest, the proponent for it, because everybody started making their own stuff at home. And everybody became printing their own t-shirts, making their own clothing, 3D printing, AI. So I think that's going to be a big factor into this. But also I think retail is finally coming back, brick and mortar. People want to feel, touch, see their product before they say, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy it. I look at every label anytime I buy anything. I'm like, where's it made? What's it made out of? Maybe it's because I'm in the industry and I know what things actually cost. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm paying $200 for it when it's made in Vietnam. I know and it's impossible that, when it's super cheap, that something would cost that what it is. Someone's being exploited along the way. So it's like, again, it's about the commitment, the loyalty, helping or creating these big brands that are colossal now. But it's like, why isn't there anything to help the little guys, us, that made this possible? Why don't we have tax breaks, incentives for creating jobs, keeping jobs, staying local? Why is it all the big guys that aren't doing anything domestic, but sending everything overseas that get all the cuts and the breaks and all the laws and everything that they need passed or arbitrated? Like, it's us that we move the needle. And if we were to go out, if we were to disappear, it's going to be catastrophic. I mean, not everybody works in an office environment. There are people that are making stuff. There are those blue collar jobs are seeing a resurgence. Plumbers, mechanics, electricians, all that. We need all these things. Why? Because we can't outsource everything. And, like this is a perfect example. During COVID, we were super resilient. Why? Because we know we know that we have to keep these lights on to keep our employees employed. So within 2 weeks, we ramped up the factory and we started making masks and gowns and whatever it was to keep the factory operating. We were ready, willing, and able. And it's like everybody got on TV, which whole other discussion left a sour taste in my mouth. But it's like, we need this stuff. Who could help? And we're like, we could do it. We have 30 employees, 6,000 square feet of manufacturing space. But then it was like, oh, but we need it at $2. And it was like, the checks and, nothing was balancing out, the checks and balances. So it's like, you can't exploit us the same way you were exploiting other communities. You got to take advantage of how resilient, how quick our turnaround is, our quality, our attention to detail, our craftsmanship, who we're employing, why we're doing this, how we're doing this. But I'm taking all those elements, and that's what I'm building. That's what I'm building ANYBAG with. It's the community, the local craftsmen, the job opportunities. We want to create this model that we're building here by transforming trash, but we want to build this and then take this city to city, state to state, and then create jobs for those that are disabled, formerly incarcerated, or you're just trying to get your feet back on the ground. Because anybody could do this, what we're doing with ANYBAG. That's the beauty of it. It's simple, it's easy, and we're actually transforming. Sorry, I have the window open. We're actually transforming waste and diverting it from reaching landfill. But if we could do this here, imagine what we could do with it in every other city in the country, and keeping it local and diverting all waste from reaching local landfills. But it's we're a dime a dozen, and it would be a sad day to see all this disappear when now all we are is surrounded by $1 million condos and super wealthy individuals who got rich off of us.
No, I think that you guys, I'm really grateful for all the work that you do, and just being in the green room earlier and hearing you guys talk about this ecosystem and the community, and really there is this support system between people in this community, and everyone it is trying to help, like Alex, you had mentioned, just, supporting the workers, and Pauline, you the same, just kind of talking about like, how do we, provide these jobs, provide this ecosystem, and just really kind of support this and draw awareness for the consumers so they could really kind of be a little bit more dialed in and see how much thought and consideration goes into the work that you all do. Um, and that it's so important not to replace that with really expensive condo. So we are kind of getting to the time where we're going to open it up to some questions from the audience. I'd love for anyone to kind of jump into the chat with any questions that you might have. And just again, really grateful for HDC, the Historic District Council, for hosting this event and this panel discussion, and really kind of, and unfortunately Katie Sue wasn't here, but she kind of echoed a lot of the same thoughts as Pauline and Alex in terms of the work that she's doing with Wing and Weft Gloves. So if anyone wants to just kind of jump off mute, they could ask questions the old-fashioned way, or you could put it into the chat and I could ask these guys.
While people are thinking, Alex, how many people do you employ?
We currently have about 28 or 30 employees, including my sisters, my two sisters. But yeah, it's all local New York craftsmen that have been with us, I'd say on average 20, 25 years. A few of them have seen me run around in diapers, and now they see my kids running around in diapers. So it come full circle. But what other industry do employees stick around that long? Like they're always in and out, but it just goes to show how loving, caring, and like we love this. Like this is, it's in our DNA.
This is fantastic. And legacy businesses. One person asked, oh, hi, John. How can one support the coalition you mentioned?
The coalition is really just kind of a community. Like Pauline and Alex are a part of it, and Tessa is really, I don't know if she's still here, but she's um, really such an amazing leader in that organization. But it's people kind of coming together and seeing opportunities, and I think kind of just a lot of collaborations, a lot of people, have these questions or things, and the community just kind of answers and supports. So I think, John, if you're interested, feel free to join some of our monthly meetings. And if you put your email in the chat or kind of message me, I could add you to our mailing list, and you could get all the information of the coalition. We have another message from Kenneth. Hope we can get to see Katie Sue's presentation, but I really appreciated meeting Alex and Pauline and learning about their businesses. I'd love to see them and people like them get the support they need. Thank you. That's any other questions? And Michelle, do you have anything that we didn't touch upon?
This is really just a sort of a general question. Pauline, do you guys sell like ready to wear? Can you go to your website and buy things, or is it more bulk production?
We do product development, not for the general public. So generally they're for designers, and we don't stock anything here. Everything is made to order.
Okay. I mean, that has been the interesting part personally, finding out the wide breadth of different manufacturing. Like Alex does have things on his website, but then also does, like custom made to order. You guys do only one thing. Katie Sue has like a little bit of everything, like basically you can go like walk into her essentially store and shop, or you can shop online, or you can have something custom made. It's been very interesting to learn the variation of not only products, but how those products are sold and created and released. So thank you for that. And yes, just heads up, Rob, someone else also put their email in the chat to be added.
Okay, great. Oh, thanks. I'm copying and pasting these emails now, and I will add them to and I'll email you both our website just so you could have a little bit more information. Great. Well, thank you, Alex and Pauline and Katie Sue. And thanks, Michelle, for hosting this and kind of putting this together. This was amazing, and both of you guys are such incredible leaders in the industry and such an inspiration to me. And I, continue to try to bring some clients that I work with to do local manufacturing, and hopefully sometime soon I'll be able to come by the office and pass some orders.
We'd appreciate it.
We'll be ready.
All right.
We'll be ready for you, Rob.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. And thanks to all the guests that joined.
Everyone have a
Thank you,
nice
guys.
evening.
Yes, thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Pauline. This was fantastic. I really appreciate you guys taking time out and doing this. And for anyone who missed it, as I mentioned in the beginning, we do have another Garment District panel next week, the 14th. So please do check out our website, hdc.org, if you need more information. Hope to see you all there. Hope to see all our presenters there as well. And yes, thank you very much and have a good night.